Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I hope you were tricked by Christianity so that way there is a point for me in life. Haha. Now, I'm here to correct some of the things that we've been taught wrong. That is not a job, it is a goal. As a goal, I've taken it on as a job. If you'd like to watch my work, it is here for your viewing. If you'd like to encourage my work, you can type stuff out at the bottom. If you'd like to help support my family while I do this work, to go to the channel, there is a PayPal link. You can go to Facebook, Lex Williams. We have the Utah link, and also on the channel, on the YouTube channel, we have the PayPal link if you want to wear the shirts this month. We have we had yellow. We have one yellow left, but we have pink, and we've had a lot of shirts that deal with men's colors. So we're experimenting with the women's colors to see if there are women that want to wear the shirts and push the knowledge that are on the shirts, whether they're the Afro-Asian shirts, the description of the Israelites, or whether they are the right now we're going with the Ten Commandment shirts. I'm wearing a Ten Commandment shirt. So, most people do not know the Ten Commandments have been found in this hemisphere. And that is important because most of the things that happened in this book that we're reading from happened right here in this land. Now, we are at Genesis chapter 10, verse 18. We are looking in the Britain Septuagint, and we are also looking in the King James Version in case there are different names. Now, this is important, especially for this. Now we're at Genesis 18, 10 and 18, and we are at the Araden, the Araden, or Araden. In the King James Version, this is the Arvadite. You see the word Vadite right there. You add in, that's invadite, right? So we can see what's going on with this name right off the bat. Now, when we go and we look, I was talking to our wise teacher, good old Ed. Ed always educates us on something that's very, very, very intelligent. Now, we're looking at this word, and it said Araden. Edward said to us, wow, it'd be really interesting if you just added a C and it's not Araden anymore, it's Arcade-en. And I said, wow, that's interesting because when we look in Araden, nothing comes up, of course. But if we go to Arcadian, all kinds of shit comes up. Okay, so Arcadian, idealistically, rustic or rural, and idealized rustic. It is from Greek arca. Now, do not get confused. You'll see arca a lot. Please don't get confused arca with the archite. Arca here in these terms deal with Arcaden or Arcadian. From the Greek arca, as if they came from the Arca River, district of Peloponnesus. Now we start to have something. Now we have the Greek Peloponnesus district, right? Taken by poets as an ideal region of rural felicity. Now, if you look up what felicity is, felicity deals with happiness. So rural happiness is this is a place where you would go and take the woman of your dreams and do everything that you would and produce a family, and there's your ideal rustic location to grow old. Rust is a natural phenomenon that happens to metal as it ages, especially when condensation or any type of water is near it. So there you have happy fortune, fruitful, fertile. Fertile is soil. Fertile is women. If your woman is fertile, you're going to what? You're going to produce fruitful children, right? You're fortunate to have such a beautiful child. Look at your family. You're also happy, right? So that's what it means when it says rule felicity. All right, so your rural area is a quiet place, right? Traditionally, from Arcus. Yes, I believe this talks about the Arcus River as well, but I do not think it's from the Arcus people or the Arcadite, the Archite, excuse me, because again, this is the Aradian or the Arcadian that we find more Arcus information. Now, the genitive is Arcadius. That's the son of Zeus. Now, whoever the Arcadian people are, they're one of the bloodlines that slept with whomever this Zeus is, and they produced one of the Nephilim or the children of the fallen, and his name was Arcadius of the Arcadian people. Son of Zeus, name of the founder, and the first ruler of what? Arcadia. So if we look up Arcadius, we'll eventually find more information. I don't want to look him up right now. I'll tell you what, we'll just type it in, paste it, search it. We'll push left, we'll push right, and then we'll just pull that down. So one day we can look up Arcadius. Now, let me get that off screen because I don't want you to jump to conclusions. I don't want you to see the end just yet. I want to hide a little bit from you. Now, it says Arcadia from see Arcadian. So the Arcadian people had a place called Arcadia, where Arcadius is the name of the founder and the first ruler of the city, and it turns out he is a son of Zeus. Now, Arcadian from Arcadia, again, 1705. This is no AD, there's no BC shit, you know, this is 1705, 300 years ago, right? All right, Latinized form of Arcady, French name of Nova Scotia, Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia, I believe that's in Canada, right? Probably from Arcadia. Again, goes right back from to Arcadius, Arcadia, the name given to the region by Verrazano in 1520. All right, so in 1520, Verrazano comes over and he sees this shit and he's like, ah, it's Arcadia, Arcadia, Arcadia. So this is from Greek Arcadia back to genitive Arcadius. This deals with the Greek, who the Greek people would have been close to the Arcus River or Arcus River. Now, it states that it's from Arcadia, emblem, something that, you know, a symbol, emblem, emblematic in pastoral poetry. Pastoral. Is that we're thinking that deals with greenery, like pasture. I did the same thing. Anyway, it doesn't really fucking matter. Of a place of rural peace, right? Pasture, right? Arcadian. The name may have been suggested to Europeans by the native Micmac, the Algonquin. So the Algonquin people, one of their blood groups is called the Micmac. And the Micmac must have told the Europeans. Now remember, the Europeans are Indo-Europeans That means pertaining to India. So the Europeans come out of India. Anything that says Indo, now we did this in the last video. I understand you're just joining us for this video. If you've seen the last video, then you already know. Anything with Indo pertains to India. Now, Indios deals with God's children. That's two separate things. Indo, word meaning of or pertaining to India. Got it? See, that's Indos. That's not Indios. I know it sounds like it's not that big of a difference of what I'm saying, but it actually is. One's India, pertaining to India. One's God's children. Indios. Indios. Oh, look. And that's not found, but that's the term that Columbus used. Now, when we go back here, the Algonquin taught the Europeans a word, Akadi, meaning fertile land. So they're in Nova Scotia, which is here, they came to the fertile land, right? Now, the Acadians were what? They were expelled by the English in 1755. Now, the Micmac, the Algonquin, taught the English of these, what? Acadi, or Arcadians, and the English expelled the French. You got that? These are the Aradians or the Arvadites. Here, you type in Arvadite, you're not going to get anything. Now, you can see the word Vader there. Vade, right? To vade, weeds, wade, archaic since 19th century. The pi root is weed, W-E-D-H. So what is that, German? Old High German, right? Always look for the pi, that's the root. Or wade, or, yeah, whatever. Okay, so, Vader. So Vader is father, right? So what is an invader? Is an ancient noun for to invade. Enter in hostile manner. To invade is to enter in hostile manner. To go, come, or get in violently. Okay, so how can invade? In is just a prefix. In is just a prefix. That is within, internal, holding power. So if vade is father and in is a prefix, shouldn't it be internal power? You see, that's an adjective. This one is an adverb. This one is an progenitive adverb, whatever. Yeah. Here's a noun, an interval, a person who intervenes. That's just in between. That's not, I'm not seeing where it's used as a noun. There it is, of noun. Following consonant, a tendency to begin in a later Latin, colgate, a pi root, ni, or not. You see that? Okay, when you look through these, there's the noun, but it's an adjective, right? It seems, I'm not sure, but I think that's a prepositional adjective. I don't even know if that's a fucking phrase, but again, when you scroll through here, here's the noun, right? Assimilation of in following a consonant became N. So it changes to N and it's no longer giving us the definition of in. When you go up, the adverb, right? We're not looking for that. We're looking for the noun. All right, and it tells you right here, this is the adjective. So the first noun is right here, right here. Means not, opposite of. In means opposite of or without. You see that? N-E, not. Isn't that something? So invader means not father. Now doesn't that make fucking sense? Invade means to come into something, right? So if Vader is father, your father has the right to come into his own home. So invader means not father or not of father or not of your father. You have been invaded. All right, man, let's get back to this. Let's see what else they get from their name. All right, so you got to understand most of our history, especially dealing with mythology and shit, comes from these Canaanites or Chanaanites. So it is important to see like what they have written in as a lot of their, again, mythology. All right, so Akkadian, Latinized Akkadi, French Nova Scotia province. So we got all the way down to the bottom. The Arcadians expelled by English in 1755. So the Indo-Europeans, the English, Indo, pertaining to India, Europeans originating out of India came over and took the Chanaanites that were originally called the Aradian, Aradians. They kicked them out. Now, when they kicked the Aradians out, the Aradians by that time were known as the Arcadians. Now, when they kicked the Arcadians out, when the Indo-Europeans kicked the Arcadians out, those Arcadians went down to Louisiana and settled and became known as the Cajun, which is a corruption of Akkadian. See Cajun. Okay, well, let's see Cajun. Let's get rid of that. Let's go to Cajun. And when we go to Cajun, Cajun dialect pronunciation of Akkadian from Acadia, form a French colony. So the Acadians are the French, the Acadians are the Aradians are Chanaanites. You know them better as Canaanites. The French people. We have found the French are actually Canaanites, and they are no longer in the land of Africa, or as it was called prior. They're no longer in that land. They are now in another land, and they call themselves a completely different name. They no longer go by the Aradians. They no longer go by the Arcadians. They no longer go by the Cajuns. They now call themselves the French. Former French colony in what is now Canadian Maritimes. Its French settlers were dispersed and diaspora and exiled, kicked out by the English, and thousands made their way to New Orleans in the period of 1764 through 1788. Now, They have an area known as the French Quarter in Louisiana. And there's all kinds of tourism that happens in the French Quarter, even talks of vampires. So you go ahead and check that out. Learn about the French Quarter. I know a lot of you live in Louisiana. I know Arthur Scott Jr. lives down there, so he can tell us all about the French Quarter. Now, most people will remember we viewed a video that was a news report, and it said the French court rules that French people, and we're going to click on that. We don't need that. We need this. White Genocide Project. Oh, boo-hoo, the white people. French court rules that native white French do not fucking exist. The word effing belongs in that title. White French people do not fucking exist. No such thing. No such thing. See all those brown faces? All their hair is black. How do we have a whole fucking world of stupid people that call brown-skinned people black? I mean, do they blend in with their hair more, or do they blend in with the color red in the flag more? I mean, does people even see this? They're so brown they blend in with the red flag. Hey, that's just a side note. In 2010, a rapper and a sociologist, joined forces to publish a book and a CD, both called Fuck France, a general alliance against racism for the respect of French and Christian identity. Christian identity, because it's the Christian workings that brought you to what? To these lands to steal from people. This is what disgusts me about Christianity. You've become Christians through thievery and murder and rape, through rapturing people. Here, I don't want people to think I'm making that one up too. So let me just click on here and just rapture. What does it mean to be raptured? Well, Jesus Christ is going to come and rapture you. And when he comes to rapture you, that means that relating to rapture, you're going to be carried off. And it doesn't mean carried up. It means rapture, meaning you'll be seized, okay? That means you'll be raped. That means both your dark spots that sun doesn't shine will be, taken from you and used by other people's will. And you're just a meat bag at that point, right? That means you're kidnapped, because you can't be a meat bag and go anywhere you want to. No, that means you must be kidnapped. You're carried off. Carried off. In the beginning it says carried off. In the end it says carried off. Abduction, snatching away. Now, didn't we see Caucasians do this historically to all these so-called Indians who are really labeled now black people? Oh, we're going to put you in slavery. We're going to carry you off. We're going to snatch you away. We're going to snatch you off the streets, put you into a plantation, and you're going to serve this white dude that we work for. He's your master. He's our boss. Well, he's our master too, but we get paid more than you do because you're all fucking slaves. And look at how you, the white Christian, helped rape and carry off and kidnap and seize people, and you got your permission from your Catholic Church with dumb diversis. It always knows what I'm looking for. I don't know I explain it out. This is your little hall pass that you used to go around the world, and you sat there and said, I got a hall pass, and my hall pass says with these documents, the Catholic Church gives us free permission to invade, search out, capture, subjugate any unbelievers and enemies of Christ. Hey, we don't speak the same language. We haven't even heard of your fucking country. Do you serve Christ? Motherfucker, we haven't even heard of you. How can we serve your... They don't serve Christ. So who they sent? They sent a bunch of thieves and fucking murderers and rapists. This is the army of the Pope. Thieves, murderers, and fucking rapists. And what do they come and do? They come and they bring what? They brought the rapture. They brought rape. They brought snatching away, abduction, kidnapping, right? What does it say? It says we give you permission to do that. We, the Catholic Church, we give you permission to invade people, to be not of their father's blood and go into their father's land and steal, to search out. That's abduction. That's kidnapping. Capture. That's the same thing. You've got to search them out and find them, then you can capture them. And what? Subjugate them. Don't kill them all. Kill just enough so you can put the rest into what we call chattel slavery. Their kingdoms, oh, these were just savages, but we buried all their fucking palaces and pyramids. Palaces and pyramids buried by Johnny fucking Appleseed, but we didn't have anything here but dukes and duchies. That's biblical. That's a biblical word. That proves we had Edomites here. And Edomites are what? Pre-kings, waiting for the king to die so the duke and dutch can take their place and become king and queen, right? And they ruled over counties, and they worship other gods called principalities, all right here in America. Don't believe me? What did they say? They said, let me type this shit in. I like to use the word ancient. Ancient temple found in Tennessee. Okay, there it is. Okay, so they already know about ancient fucking temples found in Tennessee? Or ancient temple found in Colorado? And you can see the fucking places, man. Buddhist cave temples in Grand Canyon. That's not on the other side of the world. You've been lied to. This gigantic fucking temple is at the Grand Canyon. None of you guys know it. Did you guys know Mount Olympus in Utah? Drop one on me. Shit. Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus in Utah. You gotta be fucking kidding me. I thought Zeus and Zeus's children were supposed to happen on the other side of the world. But it's here in the Grand Canyon. So when we read this, and Zeus's child from the French people is called Arcadius. And he had a fucking city, right? Arcadia. And nobody knows where Arcadia is. But the people that separated from Arcadia, they went to the old world, right? I'm going to tell you how it started. They was kicked off the land where the temple was, right? That's what happened. They was kicked off that land. Then they went into what? They went into what? The plentiful land. And then they were chased out of there. Once they were chased out of there, they forgot about Arcadia. They remembered they were the Arcadians, but no more Arcadia. They got raptured too. Right? They went down. And then they found out that they weren't the real French people in 2010. See, their history has been telling them since day one, they're the French people. Right? But they know they're the Arcadi, and they know they settled in Normandy. How can I prove that? Well, Arthur Scott sat there and listened to what I had to say. So he was like, oh, check this out. Now, I could have just took the video that he made this clip from, but it's cool to see other people being involved.
How y'all doing? Arthur Scott.
Hi, Arthur. I'm doing pretty good. My name's Lex.
Lex Will just dropped the Acadian thing, which
Whoa, you know me! Whoa!
I thought was interesting or whatever. And, as far as the Acadians mixing with the Mi'kmaq, the whole identity theft thing or whatever from the natural people, if you want to call it that.
So did you get that? So yeah, I didn't get that when I first watched the video. See, the Acadians slept with the Micmac. They intermixed. And then when the Acadians went to fucking Louisiana, yeah, they called themselves Cajun, but then they started telling everybody they was the fucking Micmac too. So when you sign up for fucking federal tribes and you look at white Mi'kmaq, that's because they know they're Acadian, but they chose to take the fucking federal money because of what? Grants towards pretendicons. So they said, hey, we've been pretending so fucking long, let's pretend some more. Oh, maybe you don't want to play no more.
I'm still on the fence or whatever about which tribes are red and which tribes are black or whatever, and when do they crisscross or whatever. You know how that whole thing is, the whole Guk Turk. So when I was looking into the whole Acadian thing, since I live in French territory, that was interesting. You know, that there was a disguised Frenchman. You know, so I watched one video and it had some hints. You know, I thought it was interesting. I'm gonna show a few pieces. But then I watched another one and it had political value. So I thought that was interesting. And well, let's just see what comes out of my mouth in the middle. Either way, I think it's interesting information.
Did you see that badass shirt? Look at that badass shirt.
But then I watched another one and it had political value. So I thought that was interesting. And well, let's just see what comes out of my mouth in the middle. Either way, I think it's interesting information.
Look at that shirt. You see that? That's a badass shirt. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something about this shirt. Now I'm at the printings, right? I'm getting the pink ones picked up and the yellow ones, right? The printer says to me, "This is some shit, right? The Ten Commandments were found here." Look at that. The guy printing the shirts learned from the shirts he printed. Come on, people. You wear these shirts to the grocery store, you don't woke up 3 people. You wear them to the corner store, you don't woke up 1 person. You wear these shirts to school, you don't woke up 20 people. You gotta wake these people up. This is the easiest way to do it. You don't even have to open your mouth. You put some food in your mouth and they just read your shirt. You just hold your shirt right. You just hold your shirt right up to them. You don't have to say nothing. That's the beauty of these shirts. It's just right there. I ain't trying to sell these shirts. You want to get the word out? New Mexico, Ohio, 10 Commandments was found. Well, how can they find out when Israel on the other side of the world? Bam! You just sparked yourself a conversation to talk about them that say they are Jews and are not. So let's watch a little bit of this. Last of the Mohican.
I could be wasting your time. I don't know.
I'm from Caracat, New Brunswick, and I want to speak in regards to the history of the Acadian and Mi'kmaq people of New Brunswick, because not a lot of Canadians know the full scope of the story, or how the system has oppressed people by way of colonialism. Basically, my family came from Normandy, France, and settled along areas of Nova Scotia.
Now, always remember, she said they came from Normandy.
As fishermen, they integrated with the Mi'kmaq culture who lived on the land.
Integrated. They fucked into that culture. Period. They fucked in so much. Listen.
And we became the Acadian people. So we were the first.
Now, do you hear that? They were something else when they were in France. You want to know what they were? They said they were from Normandy. So what they are starts with an N. They're Norse. Normandy, Norse. All right. Nordmen. Now, We're going to get back to this in a little bit. Let's go back to her.
Real settlement in Canada that was Métis. We had integrated culture.
The Métis. And I'm going to look them up. And
now listen, they're the Norse in France. They come across the water and fuck into the next people. See, you were told not to sleep with Canaanites. And this is the point where you started sleeping with Canaanites. Let's say Joshua successfully expelled the Canaanites. This is the point when they come back and you fuck in with the group.
The first real settlement in Canada that was Métis. We had integrated culture.
Every time she say integrated, that means fucked into, assimilated, joined together, become one.
The Métis. And I'm going to look them up in comparison to the next video, because I ain't even looked them up yet. I was just interested in the man's story that we're going to look at. The Métis.
The Acadian people were relatively prosperous because the Mi'kmaq taught us how to be self-sufficient.
The Acadian people are the Norse that run around with swords and stab people when they don't get their way. Of course they're prosperous. When you say, who are the Mi'kmaq today, this is the image you see. You don't see the original people. Let's test that out as a theory, right? Let's just go to Google. Let's type in Mi'kmaq. Mi'kmaq Indians. Now, let's see. Now you got old pictures of what these old fucking druids used to look like. You see them with the cone tops? Ain't that the same thing the KKK have? You see the male in the tunic, right? Now, the KKK run around in female garb, don't they? Witches, not wizards. We have a grand wizard. We have one male over us. The rest of us are in women clothing. Now, this is another picture of the Mi'kmaq. Now, how many people sit there and say, oh, I'm Mi'kmaq? These don't look like you either. You see this shit, Elvis? You left the building. This ain't us. You see that writing? It's not our writing. It's nothing to do with us. Now they claim these Mi'kmaq are Algonquin. And you can see these are motherfucking gypsies. Do you see the Shemek back there? Engraved in the clothing. Yeah, Semek. Oh, S-A-M-E-K-H. I said S-E-M. I spelled it as semen, right? Look, when we go back, why does a lizard pop up? Why does a lizard pop up? Why do lizards pop up when you type in Semek? This name? Now, that's not the gator name. Sobek. So don't give me a messed up interpretation of why. Now it's Samek, excuse me. It's a Samek in the background. Now even when you show a Samek, they show you, look at all the shit that come up. Right back to that. The Ketha, the Fatha. the in father, the not of father. All right, let's get back to this. Let's keep it moving in the right direction. Oh, we're further back.
And we had skill sets from France as well that came in with the people.
The sword!
Which makes sense or whatever, because me and M.W. Smith be talking. And he brings up a certain documentation of the Indians and the French people speaking the same language or similar languages or having similar customs. You know what I'm trying to say. Upon arrival. So it's like, what's the definition of arrival? You know, because it seems like kind of, you get it. Just watch. I don't know.
Okay, well, you asked a question I can fulfill. So, the act of coming to land at the end of a voyage by sea. It's a disembarkment from Anglo-French. Oh, of course, right? Because this is what they're talking about when they arrive. Arrival. French arriver, to come to land. All right, so this is what happens when you're at sea for too long, right? So let's go back to this.
And we were fishermen, we were farmers. Actually, the Acadian people created a system of farming using something called the aboiteau.
The aboiteau is interesting. I kind of been comparing it to anything to do with water since I heard about it. I still need to look up and see what the hell that is. And, well, how to build one. Look at her face right now.
I know, right? She looks like, what is the, man, damn, I'm gonna do this, right? It's the movie, it's, the Keanu Reeves movie, in Asia, right? That it all leads back to the same shit, the Nomaki, Tora Nomaki, and the bird face people, with the Tora Nomaki. Papel. You spelled paper wrong. You spelled papel. Yeah, there's a fucker. Right? Isn't that the, you know, that's the bottom line what we're looking for. This name that's on the screen, every time we say bird face people, this is what should come up. But I can't remember the dude's name right now. I remember last time I was looking for it. It took me a Denju. Is it the Denju? Jenga. No, it's the Jenga. No, it's not the Jenga, is it? Nah, whatever. It's one of these damn names, man. Now with the Tora Nomaki comes up. What is it? All right, but nobody has any information on the Tora Nomaki, right? Is the fighting style of the tiger, right? This is the importance of the last story where the tiger was chasing the goat and the goat's Azazel, but we don't know who the tiger is, right? And the Tora Nomaki, let's see if his name comes in here. Let me see if I can. So you see Jesus pop up? I don't think that's his name. I can't remember the guy's name no more. Nope. I lost it. It is outside of my mental file cabinet. I should put it. Yeah, that's a stupid video. Tenju. Yeah, that's where we actually, that video is where we learn about it. Sorry. Hey, look, you had to sit through it. So, anytime I ever fucking wonder, G or J, you just type in Tenju. Alright, so Tenju, man. There we go. Now, this is what you're talking about, man, where it gives you down here the origins. The Tenju character used to write it in borrowed name in the demon form of the folklore. Evil spirits and anger ghosts, the great. Let me see it to the part where it talks about the nose. In popular folktale, martial arts. See, this is where we should be going next with Tenju. Let me go back up here. The image. Tenju in popular art appears in a large number of shapes, but is usually falls somewhere between large and monstrous bird with a woolly anthropomorphized being. That means he can shapeshift, right? Often with a red face and is usually a large or long nose. Early depictions of Tenju shows them as a kite, which is a bird, a kite-like being who can take a human-like form, often retaining avian wings, head or a beak. Tenju's long nose seems to have been conceived in the 14th century, likely as a humanization of the original bird's bill. Now, this is what the Tenju looks like. Okay, you see this bird being right here. Now, this is where we get the Torah no Maki. This is where we get the Torah no Maki is a fighting scroll. What we know about the Torah no Maki, it's a scroll that contains the Ten Commandments. Torah no Maki is the fighting style that you used with the Torah. The Torah was on a metal rod. So you had a metal rod. Okay, take this lint roller, for instance. If on here, say, this would be a pretty good design in this modern time. Say here, you unrolled, just like a scroll, the Torah, and you could read from the first 5 books to anybody you wanted. Now, anytime they were offended by you reading, you could roll your shit up, and your shit was on. See, this is plastic. It would have been a metal handle or a metal rod. Okay? Now, this piece of metal is now your billy club or your bat. Now, when people try to use offensive things or aggression against you, you now have a weapon of defense against them. This is and the fighting style with the rod is the tiger style. This is why when we look up the Torah no Maki, we see the tiger first. Now, people in Asia understand this. This is why we have these concepts. This is why we have the visualization of these concepts. But we're not supposed to know because, again, this actually does relate to Hebrew people. And they do not want you to know your past. And that's why this came to fruition. The court says, whoa, listen, French people as a whole, okay, 5 years. The court finally came to the verdict. It claimed that white people are not considered native to France under French law. So, the 2 defendants could not be found guilty. The court says that native French as a group does not cover any realty, legally or historically. It deals not with any realty, no land. You get what it's all about? Land. That's why they teach you you're from Africa when you're not. These fucking French people are actually from Africa. And this is what this whole video is about. So, further states, the court said that native French as a group does not cover any realty, legally, historically, biologically, or sociologically. It ruled that whites or the white race is in no way a legal component of the quality of the French. That means when you say French, it don't have nothing to do with anybody in the white race. You understand why they put the white race there? That means anybody that's living in any part of the world. I live in this community in this city and state of blah, 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 and I'm French. The fucking high court said, listen, we're not French. They didn't go as far as to say who they were, but now we went the extra step. Now, it's not to say we stumbled upon this, because I'm going to show you no matter what, we were going to find this. And this is going to be a long video. I hope you've been waiting for one. So, it ruled that whites or the right ways is in no way a legal component. If somebody says they're fucking French, you should just smack the shit out of them. Smack them so hard they piss themselves. They're not French. They're a fucking Canaanite. They're realistically, under Greek law, they're a Chanaanite. They're bloodline of Khan. Khan! So, native white French do not constitute a group of people. So if they said, hey, we're French people, and you whoop their ass, legally you can't be fined. Yes, you hurt somebody. You didn't hurt the people under the title. This is why they kill your black ass. Because you're a second-class citizen. They said not in any realty. I'm just playing this reality. But still. While American Indians, Australian Aborigines, and New Zealand's Maori are considered native to their respective places, certain high-ranking officials do not consider white people native to Europe, or in fact, anywhere on the planet. Well, here's where I'm sorry to say, it turns out that the white people of France actually are native to somewhere on the planet. Now, I'm going to tell you, I believe from my studies, it's straight up the dark hair. You have to ask yourself, where did blonde hair come from? You have to ask yourself, when you look up SLC24A5, why do most European males have zebrafish in their blood? That's a big question. E1B1 comes out of Africa. Why does white males have E1B1A and E1B1B? It's a wrap, guys. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. This is because native groups are entitled to special privileges under the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People. According to this law, indigenous groups are entitled to maintain and strengthen their own institution, cultures, and tradition. It gives them a right to remain distinct and prohibits discrimination against them. Basically, because you say black and not your Cherokee title, there ain't no such thing as black, so they can discriminate against you. They call you Negro, you accept it. It's not a title you have to accept. If they say do this and you accept it, that means you accept it. If they said take this title and you accept it, they say all people with this title has to do this. Well, now you have to, because now you have all this information that says you are of this title. Your birth certificate say you of that title. Your driver's license, your children's birth certificate. See how now there ain't no Cherokee with Afro characteristics. Excuse me, Afro-Asian characteristics. This is the whole game. If they say everybody that lives on L Street gets $1 million, but they change all the streets to numbers, then nobody lives on L Street. So then nobody's getting $1 million. Nobody at all. You say, I used to live on L Street, but you changed the name. And they say, well, it's our game. According to the law, indigenous people are encouraged to maintain, strengthen their own institution and cultures and tradition. We don't have any black schools because we did not maintain our name, our heritage, and we have no institution. Our culture is dead, walking fucking dead. Basically, it gives them the right to preserve their own heritage, not someone instructing them of their heritage about traveling on fictitious boats across fucking seas for months on end with no food storage, no water storage, shitting and pissing on each other and somehow surviving dissident. Lots of bullshit like that. Okay. This is not what anti-whites want Europeans to do. They want us to be eliminated from our own continent as well as colonial countries. Okay, first off, you're invaders on colonial countries. Of course, the people that are natural to that land want the invaders destroyed. They don't want you to go home. They want you destroyed for what you've done to them. Let's see, Americans that are Afro heritage that don't know that they're from here, they probably don't think they want you to destroy. But as they realize, slowly they're waking up, as they realize that you're unwanted guests, like cockroaches, like fleas, they're gonna fucking destroy you. And this is the part of the propaganda of keeping their education dumb as fuck and culling them off, killing them. Harvesting them for them goddamn organs. Organ harvesting 101. Get them on good drugs that's good with sedation. They're trying to carry out this white genocide. Look at all the genocide you guys have created. I got a great one. Everybody go home. Everybody go wherever you're natural to. And then we'll call it a good day. Right? All right, let's move further. All right, so Parsi people. All right, so we're going to look at the Parsi people. All right, so when we type in Parsi people, it says Gaul. Okay, so here's the funny thing. Now, when Rome is up and kicking, they're at war with somebody. They surround them, starve them out to defeat their kingdom. It's called the Gaulish kingdom. They learned how to do this. They had this man called Vespasian. Vespasian's a military general. All these Israelites they have in Rome and Alexandria, they all do an upheaval. And Rome's on fire in different places. Doesn't matter who set the blaze, the fucking slaves always. Who didn't lock the door? It's the slave. Get that nigga. It's always the slave's fault. All right? So Nero, he says, oh, we need somebody to ride up 1,000 miles and get Vespasian and bring him back down here. Tell him to forget about the war with the Gauls. Tell him we need him here in Rome. And in where? Cappadocia. Right? Wait. What's Nero's city? Is it Cappadocia? Can't remember. No. It's one of those Docia cities, but I can't remember what it's called. Okay, so Nero calls Vespasian home. Now Vespasian has a son. His son's name is, what's Vespasian's son's name again? Oh yeah, it's Titus. All right, so when you go in here and it says in the table of contents to my dear son Titus, 1624. Now I don't know this shit so well. I gotta look at the page number to find this book. So 1624. This is to Titus, Paul, a servant of God and an apostle of Jesus Christ, according to the faith of God elect and the acknowledging of truth which is after goodliness. Yeah, Titus. So Vespasian calls for his son Titus. Now it's Vespasian and Titus, and then there's Nero. Okay, and Vespasian says, you've called us here for what? Nero says, well, it seems that the city is up in arms because of the slaves. Okay, so Vespasian says, you're the emperor. Fix it. We're going to go back to the countries we're winning because we're going to rule these countries when we're done. And Nero says, no, I'm the emperor. Now, you know what happens then? Nero ends up committing suicide with a knife wound to his throat. Now, let me ask you a question. Out of all the interesting ways of suicide, who takes a fucking knife and stabs themselves in the fucking throat and leaves it there? I'll tell you who. A Roman war general that's been called 1,000 miles back to fix a fuck up. Probably dug that dagger deep into his neck, probably that angle, that unsurvivable angle. Now they'll tell you a lot of bullshit about Nero's death. Nero asked a servant to kill him. Wait a second, you're the fucking worst emperor and your servant didn't say, oh fuck yeah dude, I'll kill you. In a heartbeat. You're the most corrupt emperor that can't even keep the fucking slaves in line. Look at all the emperors that came before you that could keep the slaves in line. You're ruining Trajan's dream. So what they do to Nero? They killed Nero. Now, guess who ends up emperor next? Now, one land, you got a kingdom. 2 lands, right? You're starting to become big. 3 lands, you're becoming bigger. Now, once you got other kingdoms, now you don't got, I got 3 people's land. Ooh, you got other, this guy set up a kingdom, you took his, this guy set up a kingdom, you took, now you're ruling over 3 kingdoms. Now you're an emperor and you have an empire because out of 3 kingdoms comes some kind of fucking production. I don't care if it's just war. Some kind of production's coming out of that. Now, Vespasian, he is emperor for 10 years. What does he do with Jerusalem? The same pattern he does with Gaul. He surrounds them, starves them out, bakes bread with fecal matter inside. You're starving. You're going to eat shit bread. They call it pizza. This is Rome. Rome is Italy. These are Italians fighting us. When it's slanted, when it's tilted to the side, it's called italicized Italian. Now, we're talking about the Gaul, the people that were practiced on. The war pattern was practiced on these people first. They're called the Parisii. Somebody in the comments of one of the earlier videos has brought up, it's funny how the Parisii sound like the parasite. Now, we're going to understand how come the French know so much about Hebrew stuff. We're going to understand when we call it a mound, it's called historically a moat. Now we're going to understand why the Hebrew language is earlier, but the French get credited as it. Now we're going to understand when King David put the smackdown on the fucking parasites and made them fucking perpetual servants, why they know so much about us. So this is the Parisii of ISIS. All right. Before we get to the Parisii of ISIS, the Gales or the Gauls, also called the Celts. And when you type in Celts, you get the Gauls. All right. Now, the Scots, right? The Celts of Scottish Highlands. This is the Scottish, right? This is the KKK. They are what? They are Gaelic. They are blood of the what? The Gauls. These people from the arrival, the Akkadian, who are the Cajun. The Parisi are the Celts of the Iron Ages. All right. So listen, when you read Genesis and you're reading the Chanaanites, aka the Canaanites, the Perizzites do not come up yet. It is the intermixture of the Arcadians and another unknown race at this time that create the Perizzites. But it is another Canaanite race. Now, we're going to get into this. We get the Celts, we get the Gaelic, which are the Gauls. We were just, see it says Gaul right there for Parisi, the Celts, Gaul. And then when we I forgot where I just pop it up. Oh man, lost it. Oh well, we're here. This is what we got. Okay, so all right, Vespasian goes up, practices on the Gauls. These are the Gaelic people. Now, don't forget, the Norse, Normandy, the Norse and the Celts belong to the Gauls, okay, or the Gaelic, of or pertaining to the Gaels. Now, meaning originally in English, the Scottish Highlanders. Language of the Celts, of the Scottish Highlanders, Gaelic, blah, blah, blah. Celtic archaeology or history from Celtic or Latin Celticus, pertaining to the Celts in reference of language, of other qualities, the Boston basketball team. Okay, as we go forward. Now that's two families, right? The Gael from Scottish Gaelic, Gladenhall, right? Gladenhall, member of the Gaelic race, Irish, Scottish, Manx. All right. Now, here's the problem that we don't see. Where does it say the French? Are the Manx the French? I highly doubt that. But they claim the Irish are part of this race, the Scottish, and the Manx. Here's the problem. We see the French are too. Now, it says, corresponding to Old Irish, Goind Hill, compare Latin Gaelis under Gaelic, also Galita. What's that? Galatians. Okay. Now, I made a statement in the previous videos that these things that you have in what you call the New Testament, when it says the Corinthians, okay, when it says the Galatians, then it says the Romans, when it says the Ephesians, I made a statement and I said those are fucking people groups. Guess what? This proves it. This backs up what I said previously. So much so, I know you know it now. The Galatians are the fucking Scottish, Irish, the Manx, and some of the, half the French at least. You wouldn't have known this if I didn't show you this shit. Ain't nobody ever shown you nothing this in depth. No offense. You're married. Your spouse ain't showing you nothing this in depth. But you know what I'm saying. Now when we start reading the Bible, we know the fucking image of who's done this to us. Now look what we can do. Now, the Gaelic, we already know the Gaels were in France. That's where it started. They became the French people, but they're just members of the Gaelic race, which considerably is some of the French, even though Gaul is in France. It's the French, the Irish, the Scottish, and the Manx. So when we say, hey, what is the Manx? Well, let us be enlightened. Manx, Minkisi, Isle of Man, from Old Norse, from man, Isle of Man. So these are the people of the Isle of Man. All right. So when we type in Mansky and we go to, let's say we go to Google. Let's just type in people. Everything else they gave us was people. Oh boy, which one? Let's just go back to Max and then see what it gives us best. Ethnic groups of the Isle of Man. See, here we go. The Celts, Germanic, the Norse, the Gauls. See, now it just fucking opened up, didn't it? Now we got something, people. Now, why did they even say the Manx in that shit? Because the Scottish and the Irish fall under the Manx, right? The Celtic people throughout the significant Norse and English influence, right? But Normandy is the Norse. That's why they don't consider that's why they don't consider French people Manx people, because they're Norse and not Gaul. Well, they're Norse and not what's the other name? Oh, man, where did we just get that name from? Celt. There's Celts and then there's Norse. So these are Celts, but it seems that they all lived in Gaul, something of this nature. All right, so we just looked at the Manx. Comes from Gaul, part of the Gaelic race. And the Galatians, the Bible, Galatia, name of the ancient inland region in Asia Minor from Greek Galatia, based on Gaul. Gaulish people who conquered the region and settled in 3 BC in Latin, Gael, Greek, something, the Galatians. So look at this. They came from Asia Minor and conquered the region in 3 BC, where they call France now. I believe this is what it's saying, because they come from inland. Why would they bring up inland? Because France is on the ocean. I mean, think about that. Why? See, they're not telling you it's the fucking French. They're not telling you that the place that they conquered was yeah, was in France. They're not even telling you about the Gauls that live in France that fought Rome. So we'll get past that shit, man. Here is the Parisi of Isis. Now you can see all these different names. They're all just different bloodlines of the same people groups. I originally written an article in July 2014. Around 250 BCE, the Celts settled on a site which became the ancient city of Lutetia, Parisium, Paris or whatever, Lutetia of the Parisi. Today is known as the city of Paris. Okay, so this is Paris, France, right? So there's no bullshit about if they're taking the city in Asia Minor, or are they coming from Asia Minor? They left Asia Minor and they fucking what? They attacked the Aboriginals and then set up the city Paris. It was named after the tribe of Celts known as the Parisi during the Roman era of the 1st to the 4th century. The Parisians, oh, I'm sorry, Peri-Asians. See Asians right in there? Asians right in there. Right? Okay, now think about this. We got Asians for Canaanites. Let's pop this up. See, because I don't want people to start fucking with me, acting like I done screwed them over. I done showed you through these different tribes of the Canaanites that they're Indians and Asians and what? And Arabs. Now, when they all mix, right, is what they make. Damn French, right? Hey, somebody, either they had a color before or they suffered leprosy, right? But they didn't get leprosy from mixing together. They get it from fucking fallen angels. All right, so let's keep reading. It had been said we're followers of Isis. Okay, so Isis is the modern name, right? That's what Horus and Isis, who's known as the chief goddess of the Greco-Egyptian Empire. Hence, the Celtic Parisii came from the east and eventually settled in Gaul, right? They came from Asia Minor and they took France and then set up Paris. They are first met. See, ladies and gentlemen, who is giving you all this, all these breadcrumbs lined up to complete the story for you right here? They are mentioned in the commentaries of Julius Caesar, who dwelt in a district on the Sinai in a town called Lueta. Sinai, whatever. The Greek geographer Strabo had written during the reign of Augustus Caesar that the Parisii live round about Sinai, having a city called Leucatosia on an island in the river. The city of Luetia, I'm sorry, I'm tearing up these names. I'm doing my best. The city of Luetia, would later be renamed Paris in 360. Complete turnaround, 360, right? In 360 AD under the Roman Emperor Julian, who named it, listen, Citilius Parisiorum, the city of Parisii, in honor of the city's original founder, the Celtic Parisii. Now, check that out. The Celts are this point gone. Listen, original founders. The Celts are this point gone. Let's guess who came and took their place. The Norse. Where'd the Celts go? They went up. They're known as what? The Irish and Scottish today, right? Now we have the answer of why the Irish and the Scottish are separate from the other people of the North. Normandy, Norse. It was here where the Parisii settled. With them, they brought their religion and secret rites. Now, the Chanaanites leave the land of Chan, and what do they bring with them? Secret rites. Here we have it. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. These are the fucking same people we called druids before. Pale motherfuckers wearing hoods around because they were suffering at that time from leprosy, dealing with scabs and sores, dealing with their pigment falling out like vitiligo and then turning into scabs and sores and infection. And what did they do? They had the writings that said the priest has got to tell you to get into the water. And what did they do? They started getting in the water until they started contaminating the water because they didn't have a priest. Because why? They were running around waging war. It's not that hard when you find these pieces. Now, excuse me. It was here where the Parisii settled, and with them they brought their religion and their secret rites from the goddess from the east. And they came from Asia Minor, so they had blue people knowledge. So they spread that fallen angel bullshit, that blue people bullshit. where they built a temple to Isis in which you could find a statue of Isis. People die, they turn blue, right? He's cold as ice, he turned blue. When they draw on cartoons, somebody turns fucking cold, they draw him blue. We live in a hot atmosphere, they can't take heat. These guys show their face, they're gonna show their face in fucking winter. Cold. In 1163, the site of the Temple of Isis would be the location where the Notre Dame de Paris, French for Our Lady of Paris, would be built and had become the Parisian Church of the Kings of Europe. Parisian. Now, when you see Parisian, it has to do with Paris, right? We have Our Lady of the Elms here. It's one of these Catholic girls' schools, right? Our Lady of the Elms, right? So they're secretly, they don't even know it. They're part of keeping that cult shit going. You see how that works? That's why they use that phrase. This is like a knight's phrase, right? The Knights of this, the Order of that, Our Lady of this, right? Of course they got good, honest people there. And push them to the front ground so that when anybody comes in there snooping around, we're just curious. All they see is the good people. They don't see the bad people in the back. Now it states the Parisian Church of the Kings of Europe. The original statue of Isis was preserved in the Abbey of Saint Germain until 1514, when the Archbishop of Meaux had it destroyed. Modern-day archaeologists confirm that this location was the first site discovered during the reign of the Roman Emperor Augustus, making it essentially a place founded under the Roman Empire and Pax Romana. What is Pax Romana? Who knows? I think that's a law. Don't quote me yet. Let's just quote the computer. Pax Romana. Pax, the kiss of peace. Romana. It's maybe a peace treaty. I don't know. The kiss of peace, capitalized. Pax was the name of the Roman goddess of peace. Motto of Pax Romana, such as Pax Britannica. It's used in 1933 as adjectives from national names. So Romana is Rome. So Pax is a kiss of peace from Rome. Something of that nature. All right. So, it's almost always been governed by an envoy of Caesar. During the Roman conquest of Gaul, what I was verbally telling you about, but couldn't have, I told it so well, I was looking for the paperwork and I couldn't find it. I was like, dude, I didn't even have that on a tab. The Parisii participated with Senosius, whatever his name is, resistance movement to Caesar, organizing the fuck do they write this goofy shit for? Vercingetorix in 52, whatever that means. But later they would unite with Rome. Okay, so they used to be enemies and then they became brother and sister. This is why it is considered the only sister city of Paris is Rome, and vice versa. So it's two sisters, not brother and sister, two sisters. Now, Celtic Parisii, now remember, Paris is the sister city of Rome. The Celtic Parisii eventually were strong allies with Rome since the time of Augustus Caesar. They had special freeman privileges under Roman law and considered Augustus to be a type of savior or messiah for their people. Now remember, they're Canaanites. They just got their asses kicked by Joshua, and it's freshly recorded in history. The Romans have taken up the Greek mantle and pursued against the Israelites. So the Canaanites, of course, are going to look at Greek like fucking heroes. You did something we couldn't do. Break them down more so that we can break them more. They're too big for us to chew on right now. Break them down more. So, hence the motto for Paris is only Paris is worthy of Rome. Only Paris is worthy of Rome. Only Rome is worthy of Paris. Saying these two cities are the only cities in the world that are worthy of each other, i.e. the people as well. That's very interesting to say sister cities like that. It makes me wonder about the peoples that are at both places as well. However, I found that Augustus Caesar did not condone the worship of the goddess Isis or any Greco-Egyptian cults. Of course not. These Caesars set themselves up to be living gods. You cannot be a living god and have people worship other shit. That presents a problem. When you tell somebody to kill somebody else, then they say, well, you're not God, and they're worshiping another. Then that can, well, big controversy then. So after beheading everybody, you've got nobody left. So it's best to just keep yourself as God. And that's the Roman Emperor motto. Now, they were simply forbidden in Roman Emperor during the reign of Augustus and Tiberius, the worship of Isis or any other Egyptian shits. All right. In fact, he found the cult pornographic, though the cult was known to prescribe periods of sexual abstinence to its adherents. Okay, so some members were prescribed abstinence. Tiberius, upon hearing of sexual scandal involved in the cult, had the offenders crucified and images of Isis cast into the Tiber River. But the policy would change in 38 under the reign of Caligula, who consecrated the great Roman temple in the field of Mars to Isis. I've never heard that as a last name. Isn't that weird? Isis Campenisis. So we'll just open up a new one. Well, we have to. We just have to. And we'll paste that there. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Go. Get those weird people off my screen. Go. Okay, so she does have a last name. So that's cool. We'll just dig that up another day. Okay, let's get back to this and then hit full speed. Percy right there. All right, so how much of this is left? All right, there's a lot left, right? So, oh, this is killing me. Okay. And from the forward point, whenever Rome went to conquer with Roman eagles such as Gaul, Britain, and Germany, these are the places that Rome conquered. And even here in America, if you go to Washington, D.C., you go to the bus terminal, you'll see nothing but Roman statues. The cult of the goddess Isis would replace all other deities and religions. Hey, thanks, Caligula, you jerk. One of the most famous monuments of ancient Paris is the Pillar of the Boatman. Now, we know about the Pillar of the Boatman. We've learned about the Pillar of the Boatman because Isis is on the Pillar of the Boatman. Ladies and gentlemen, do you see how all this is connected? Let me ask you a more personal question. If you've been watching for over a year, do you see how all of this that we're watching right now is connected to everything that I taught you in the past 5 years? This is, you got to understand how much confirmation. I've had this page for 2 months, maybe, and this is the farthest I've read into it just because I've been so busy. I'm shocked. I really am. This really leads back to fucking Isis, the Pillar of the Boatman. Look, we're running out of time. Let's see if we can see where Isis is. I do not see him on here. This is the Pillar of the Boatman. He is on here somewhere. Remember, we're looking at 2 sides. That means there are 2 more sides. The inscription reads blah 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 blah. Tiberius, Jupiter, Grace. These boatmen we call the Cretans. or Phoenicians. Now, you just got it right there. The Cretans could be the Phoenicians that have connected to the Isle of Crete, which we'll go back further into detail below and in future articles. Now, there you go. They're going to connect below. They're going to connect the Phoenicians with the people of the Isle of Crete. Now that's going to be wonderful because that's going to do our job for us, isn't it? So maybe we'll try to remember to start right here, the origins of the Parisii and the people of Paris, because I already know where their origins is, and we'll see where this person goes with their direction. Now let's move a little further. The people of Parisii is Gaul, okay? Parisii were Celtic Iron Age people who lived in the banks of the Seine in Gaul from middle of the 3rd century Roman era. Suetonius, no, there's no T, that's not, I'm just guessing there. With Suetonius, whatever. The Parisii participated in the general rising of this against Julius Caesar in 52. The chief city became a Roman province. Okay, so Rome whooped their ass, and the North came in and took over their shit. Okay, those people moved up north. So this is the Gladden Hall. They're all part of the Gallic peoples. Okay, and it's what they call themselves, white settlers, right? And everybody else in history called them fucking barbarians and terrorists. And they call them the fucking scourge, but they call themselves settlers. Hey, what do you know? All right, let's get rid of this shit. All right, this goes back to the Norse. The Norse is a Norwegian or obsolete Dutch Norwegian from Northern Nordic. Okay, so when they show you Nordic people, they always show you blonde people. This is the people from Normandy. They don't have blonde hair. Somebody's fucking lying. Also, see, okay, also in some cases borrowed from cognate Danish or Norwegian. Hey, you know what cognate means, right? Let me show you. It's the same thing as amalgamate, right? Cognate. Of common descent, to come together, right? To assimilate, right? That means to come together. All right, let's go back. So the Norwegian of the North came together. They're trying to tell you the words came together, but it's more than just that because these people base words off of the actions. So they're trying to tell you in the words that the people came together. All right, so this has to do with noun meant Norseman, also action worth of a man from the north. All right, they're usually considered as deceitful. All right, so this is how they felt about them. They said that they were proud men, they were fire, they're fierce and fiery, and they're strong. Right? What there is good. Everything in the Bible tells us our pride is our fault. They're fiery. That means they get angry quick. And they're strong. These are the good things. So this deals with Norman, one of the mixed Scandinavian Frankish. All right, so then you have the Franks are the French, right? And the Scandinavian. So up here it's telling you about cognate words, right? I'm telling you, this is what it means. Normandy is a region settled by Vikings from Norman. That fucking simple, right? Right. I'm gonna keep moving. All right. Now this has to do with people of the sea. Now, really quick, I'm gonna wrap this video up. All right, people, noun, Middle French. You're not gonna get sea, two separate things, but you're not gonna get sea people or people of the sea. You get sea monster, all kinds of other stupid shit, but you're not really gonna get what you want. All right. So now, because of the actions these people did, they're considered people of the sea. But because they have in their blood SLC 24A5, I consider them a little bit more than just just that, 'cause, let me get this one. So this is C peoples. So then you look at SLC24A5 as a gene that major influence on natural skin color variation, right? And it has to do with the differences in skin pigmentation. SLC24A5 has been a major factor in light skin tone of Europeans compared to Africans. All right, so it's been a subject of recent selection in Europe and is fixed in European populations. So it's in your chromosome. There's no, you're never getting it out. Effect on skin color. SLC24A5 appears to play a key role in the evolution of light skin. See, skin color changing to light skin has evolved. It doesn't play a role in man, the evolution of man. It plays a role in evolution of you, man. The degradation of your you. Your you gets chipped away slowly and slowly. This has to do with leprosy. And it has to do with skin and European ancestry. The gene's function and pigment was discovered in what? In zebrafish. As a result of what? Positional cloning. It's responsible for the golden variety. Ladies and gentlemen, dare I say, this is where you get gold hair from. Now, I know a lot of people, they have their own opinions of shit, and that's all cool, because I have mine too. But at some point, you've got to understand where this scripture is matching up with reality. Now, we'll do our final moments on this one. Now, the Sea People, we popped up, and the Sea Peoples were a confederacy of naval raiders who harried the coastal towns and cities of the Mediterranean Sea, concentrating their efforts especially on Egypt. Nationally, the Sea Peoples remained a mystery, as the existing records of their activities are mainly Egyptian sources, who only describe them in terms of battle, such as the record from the Stela of Tanis, which reads in part, "They came from the sea in their warships, and none could stand against them." This description is typical of Egyptian references, to the mysterious invaders. Names of the tribes of which comprise of the Sea Peoples have been given in Egyptian record as the Shurdan, the Shreklesh, the Luka, outside Egypt. They also assaulted the regions of the Hittites, the Levant, and other areas around the Mediterranean coast. Their origin and identity has been suggested and debated to be the Etruscan, Trojan to Italian, Philistine, Mycenaean, even the Minoan. But no such accounts discovered thus far shed any more light on the question that is presently known. Any such claims must remain mere conjecture. And the three great pharaohs who recorded their conflicts with the victories over the Sea Peoples are Ramses II, Ramses III, and Merneptah. All right, these three claim victories over their adversaries, and their inscriptions provide the most detailed evidence of the Sea People. All right, so the Sea People and Ramses II, and he's going to give you his opinion of who he's fighting. The Sea People and Merneptah's inscription. And when we scroll down, it's kind of funny. The princes prostrate themselves. They hold themselves up, saying, "Peace," like puppets. You prostrate a puppet up. You set the puppet up to say, "Hello," right? And see, once they set themselves up, see, just like the Bible says, they came with good faith, And then once they were inside, once they became invaders, right? The princes prostrate themselves, saying, "Peace." Not one of 9 bows dares raise his head. Tehenu is plundered, while Hatti is peaceful. Canaan is seized by every evil. Ashkelon is carried off. Listen to that. Ashkelon is carried off, and Gezer is seized. Yenoman is made as that which never existed. So they made this place Yenoman. They made it as if it never existed. They burnt that shit up. Israel is wasted without seed. Korah is made a widow of Egypt. All the lands are at peace. Everyone who travels has been subdued by the king of Upper and Lower Egypt. Okay, so this is where we get, this is the Stela where it says Israel is no more, right? And this is where we find that one translation that it says Yezer or El is no more. Yezer or El is no more. It doesn't say Israel, it says Yezer. And that's I think it's funny how the rappers come out of nowhere saying Yezer. Just at the same time, people start translating that fucking Stela to see the inscription says something a little bit different than Israel. You know, and you got to say, who teaches these rappers to say this shit to these niggas? Running around saying Yezer, right? So if you read some of these, they'll tell you who they think some of the sea peoples are. All right, it tells you even the land of Canaan is tore up at that point, but it mentions Israel. So if Israel is alive at that time, then the Canaanites are actually kicked out of the land of Canaan, and they've gone over to the land of plenty until they're kicked out of the land of plenty. All right, so we looked at SLC through 485. The Sheridan River, we're not going to look at that. The excursion of the sea peoples. This one's an okay one, but we're going to pass on that. I think we're at the end, ladies and gentlemen. I think we are at the end. We've looked at the Tenji. We should save that one since that's so hard to find. That's something that doesn't really stay with my memory that good. Tenju. And Isis Canopus, whatever her freaking name is. Isis and Serapis. Now, Temple of Isis and Serapis. Now, these are the actions of Ptolemy. Oh, that's something I recognize now. Let me get rid of some of these. So, we'll see what we get out of this and go a little bit further. Now, remember, everybody, these are the Akkadian people in this Bible. It calls them the Arvadites in the King James Version and the Aradan in the Septuagint. All right, thank you for watching. Stay safe.